Alnazir Blackman. I am one of the founding members of ACE, and today I have a very special guest. I have Sandra Gilot-West. She is one of FDU's Associate Deans, and she is also a member of FDU's Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Council, and we're going to be talking about that today. So Sandra, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? It's great to see you, even if it's not in person.
I'm doing great. I'm just taking it one day at a time,
Absolutely. That's all we can do.
Right.
That and social distance and wear your mask.
Right. Make sure you guys wear your mask. Definitely do that. So let's get into it. For people who do not know, do you want to explain exactly what the Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Council is?
So for those that don't know, it actually is, it was started because of the reaction that students had in terms of what was going on this summer with the murder of George Floyd and the response that the university had in regards to that. For students and people of color and for allies, this, George Floyd's death, although horrific, isn't new. We have been seeing these things happen. We have seen hashtags happen. But student activism, both current students and alums, really wanted to hear FDU say something, do something. And so they demanded that of the university. And so President Capuano formed this council, which is being chaired by Dale Caldwell. And it's made up of members of the university, whether it be staff, faculty, to really understand, one, how do our students feel on campus? Two, what can we do to address the systemic racism that occurs not only in the outside world, but also occurs on our own campuses? I think, I know I can speak for myself as the sole person of color in the Dean of Students office. It is not uncommon of students of color to reach out to me and to talk about their experiences at the FDU Florham campus. What do we do with those stories, right? Students, alums alike will always say, Sandra says, stop being Facebook woke. Like, it can't just stay on Facebook, it has to move forward. And what actions can we do? And I think this is a step moving forward. We're going to assess the university, whether it is through our HR recruiting practices, like why do we not see more faculty of color? Whether, and it's not just about bringing people of color on our campus. Are we creating a culture and an atmosphere where people of color feel safe as well? And so this advisory council is to advise the president and his cabinet on ways on how we can do that.
Okay, that actually sounds like a great idea, and it sounds like it, can have a lot of impact on campus. So what are some things that made you want to personally join it and put yourself into it?
So when I heard about the council, one of the things that I think I have built a reputation at FDU is that I am not afraid to speak out in terms of social justice and speak out about conscious and unconscious bias that happens on our campus. And I'm not afraid to speak to students about it. Through campus life, we've always tried to have, like last couple of years ago, we had the Diversity and Inclusion Board. So those are things that we're always trying to bring forth. So I wanted to be a part of it, but I wasn't sure how, right? And so when Dale Caldwell reached out to me and asked me to be a member of it, I absolutely jumped at it because I felt like we needed to have a voice that wasn't status quo, right? So this group is made up of people that want to see this university. It's made up of faculty, staff, and students that want to see this university move forward. It can't just be about the words that we say we are. We need to back that up with our actions. So it was really important for me. If you've ever been in any of my student leadership trainings, I've always presented images of people of color, of diverse relationships, people in the LGBTQIA community, because I wanted to normalize that, right? A lot of times when we see good, it's defaulted to white. And so if we have a campus that is a predominantly white institution, it's important for me, who stands as an associate dean of color, to present positive images of that. So it was really important for me to really join a group that was really about pushing FDU forward.
Yeah, and I can really relate to you on that point as well, because me joining ACE, Athletes for Change and Equality, was based on the same thing. It's kind of like we saw everything that happened in America over the past couple months. Like you said, it kind of shook the status quo of, everything's okay, everything. And we see that it's not, because all the
Right?
things going on around us. So you look for that way to make your impact, to make things better, in the right direction. And that's exactly why I joined ACE.
That's why I'm so happy to hear when you reached out to me about that, because I think oftentimes students may not realize the power that they have, right?
Yeah.
So when President Capuano put out that first statement, our students and alums weren't happy about it. And you demanded better of our institution. And so you received better, right? He put out a new statement. So I love when students start realizing their power to impact change, because you can. Oftentimes, you'll think of yourself, well, I'm just a student. What can I do? You have power. And my job is to make sure that you realize that power. And so I hope with this advisory council, and especially having students on it, that the student voice is still front and center in all that we do.
And what can we expect from the council going forward, like in terms of events, webinars, things like that? Is there anything that students can expect and keep their eyes open for?
I hope so. So this is a relatively new council. So we just met so that we could meet everyone who was on the council. A lot of us didn't know each other. We work across different departments and different divisions on both campuses. So it was a chance to get to know each other, but we're having more meetings because we all, faculty, student, and staff alike, bring a certain skill set, right? So we're trying to figure out where are our strengths and how can we move that forward. So whether it be in events, I'd like to see a lot of training and workshops, especially around microaggressions, conscious and unconscious bias. I think trainings and workshops, not for students necessarily or only for students, but especially for faculty and staff, right? Yeah. Because there's an authority that we have, whether it be from public safety to the faculty member in class. I think I've spoken to, I've had faculty discussions talking about how can we diversify what it is that we're teaching. And I always say, whose voices are you bringing to the table? Just because you teach math does not mean there isn't diversity there. Let's talk about the mathematicians that, cross the lines of gender, across the lines of race. There are a lot of things that we can do to diversify. When we look at human resources, why are we not advertising our positions in periodicals like Diverse? You can't tell me we can't find faculty and staff of color that are qualified when HBCUs are thriving. So we can do the same thing. If an HBCU can find a PhD to teach physics, why can't we? So I think right now we're in the planning stages, we're in the assessment stages, trying to figure out what are the things that we can do, what are the things that we can tackle, and what do our students want from us as well.
I kind of feel the same way about ACE. We kind of just got started, so we're just trying to figure it out as a new group, and we're trying to figure out the same thing. You're trying to figure out what do the students want, because we want to represent, students and athletes. We actually just had a meeting, our first meeting with our team liaisons last week, and it was incredibly successful. We talked about different needs on campus, like diversity. Students said that they wanted more diversity on campus. They wanted more like they wanted to have those uncomfortable conversations. That was the biggest thing. We wanted to have those uncomfortable conversations about race because we felt like we don't have them enough. like you said, just the status quo, not talking about it and just pushing it off to the side when, in university, we should be having those. This is the place, the safe space.
Absolutely.
The safe
space. You said
it
best. This is the place.
Yeah, so that's definitely, as ACE, as a member of ACE, I can say we can't wait to, work with you guys or whatever you guys having going on. We definitely want to be a part of it. We definitely, because we're trying to do the same thing, so
I'm definitely going to bring your group forward in our next meeting. Our next meeting is actually this coming Monday. I'm definitely going to bring that group forward because your voices are what matters, right? I can tell you from the staff how it feels to be the sole person of color in the Dean of Students. I am fully supported by the women that I work with and work for, but I also feel that need to always make sure we're not forgetting about the elephant in the room, right? And so one of the things that I said in the meeting was, just because things are happening out in the world and not necessarily on campus does not mean that it doesn't impact campus. Our students are still carrying that baggage from outside the world. When we see, 100%. I don't have associate dean tattooed on my head. So when I'm driving on campus and being followed by a police officer, there is baggage that I have, that I carry. So it's not just outside in the world, it's on campus as well. And when we're not saying anything, when Charlottesville or, another hashtag happens and we're not saying anything, our silence is deafening. And so we create, whether we intend to or not, this culture of where we're not going to have those uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, that's powerful. And it's true. It's very true. So Sandra, I have one last question for you tonight, and I'll.
Darling, you can keep me all night. I love talking about this stuff.
No, me too. So I have one question. If there was one thing that you could change about our campus environment, regarding race and inclusivity, what would it be and why?
I think that change doesn't just happen from the bottom up, it happens from the top down as well. When I see an administration where no one looks like me, how am I to aspire to that position? Now, there are people who are pioneers, right? That say, I don't care, I'm going to be the first. And those are great. But I am tired sometimes of hearing, this is the first person, this is the first person. We're in 2020. How are we still having these first monumental events, right? And I think that it's frustrating. So if we're really about inclusivity, inclusivity of what, right? Who is that group that we're trying to break? Because I think that sometimes inclusivity falls into that standard of we're trying to break into this white group to make it diverse, as opposed to let's blow that group up and we're creating a whole new group. We're creating a whole new status quo of what inclusion really means, that it's not just breaking into something, but creating something new. Right.
Okay. Sandra, that was great. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming and talk to me.
Absolutely.
This was a great interview.
Absolutely. If there's anyone, I'm always excited to work with students, especially in terms of when we're talking about diversity and when we're talking about anti-racism work. I'm always excited to work with students. So please share my contact information with your group, with ACE. That would be amazing if we can just connect and do some good work here at FDU.
Definitely. I can't wait to collaborate.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you for having me.